All right, welcome back to Lightroom Classic. And today we're going to take a look at selective adjustments. Now, selective adjustments are probably the most beneficial functions that you're going to find inside of any photo editing or raw processing programs. And the reason is because most adjustments that you make are selective, not global, because you only want to refine a specific area. And what one area needs and what another area needs are completely different. Now, it's a little bit difficult to understand if this is the first time that you're using it. However, the good thing is Lightroom now works exactly the same way that Photoshop does. So if you learn it in Lightroom, you'll be able to do it or understand it in Photoshop and it won't be too confusing. However, it takes a little bit to grasp the concept. So let's take a look at how to make a selective adjustment inside of Adobe Lightroom Classic. So the first thing we need to do is we need to kind of go on over here, and this is the icon that you're looking for. This is our masking icon. Now we have a couple different ways to mask. They have added artificial intelligence, meaning that the program is going to analyze your image and make the selection for you, or you can use a brush to manually paint it in or apply it. So we'll go ahead and click on this, and when we click on the masking icon, we get this new main window. And this is only going to come up the first time that you do this. If you're doing multiple adjustments, you might not see it like this. So you will notice that right here, we have select subject and select sky. These are our artificial intelligence selections. So if we want to select a subject, which we don't really have in this image, it would probably pick the bridge maybe, or select sky, which is what I'm going to use. We would pick one of those two. The rest are manual. So down here, we have the brush where you physically take a brush and apply it. We can do it by a linear gradient, a radial gradient, color range, luminance range, and depth range. So those are our different options. The truth is, mostly what you're going to use are either select subject, select sky in the brush. Very rarely do I get into these down here. So let's go ahead and let's start with select sky just because it's going to be easiest, and I need to explain how a mask works. So we're going to come over here and we're going to click select sky and just give it a second. You can see it's working. Now, it did not make the image actually black and white. What we're seeing here is this mask. The way this works is anything that is in white is going to have the adjustment applied to it. Anything that is in black is not going to get the adjustment. So that's the concept here. Black hides, white reveals. All right. So what does that mean? This is a mask and this is just an overlay. Now you can remove the overlay, and all the overlay does is show you where your adjustment's going to be applied. So I can come here and click it off and you can see this goes back to a normal image. You can also change to a variety of different overlays. So we can come over here to these three little dots and you can see we can do a color overlay. We can do color overlay on black and white. We can do all these. In my case, I actually prefer image on white, just like this, because this is how the mask works. So it makes it easiest to understand what you're doing. But feel free to try any of those and pick the one that you like the best. The mask up here shows you the area that's going to be affected as well as the overlay. But once we make an adjustment, what we see here on the big image is going to disappear. What does this mean when I say it's going to be applied in the white? So what we'll do is we're going to do something ridiculous. We'll take our exposure and go way down. So you can see, remember, it's only being applied to the white, which is this area in the image. So if we look at that overlay, this is the area where this adjustment is being applied. And as soon as you move the adjustment, you start to see the adjustment. It will disappear. So let me go back in time. You start off with the overlay, but as soon as you make an adjustment, it's automatically going to turn that overlay. So now we're seeing what we're doing, and notice it's only happening in the sky where the white is that we're getting that darkening. Now I darkened it a lot so you can see what happens. This doesn't look good. It's just so you can see what's going on. But it's not doing anything down here because black hiding that adjustment from this location. The mask is just showing you where adjustment's going to be applied. So let's do another one. Let's click on a different image. So we'll click on this woman here. We're going to come over here. We're going to go select sky. It's automatically going to select the sky the best it can. All right. This doesn't mean that it's going to get it 100% accurate, but for right now, we're just going to assume that it's correct. And then as soon as we start making an adjustment, you can see it's applying that to that area. That's a selective area that it's being applied to. And it's only being applied to the area that is white. For right now, we're just going to deal with black and white and no grays, even though there are a little bit of grays there. Now, if I drag this all the way down, you can see it's not perfect. It missed this little area. Well, what happens if I want to add this area? It's really easy. You come up here, you see the word add, you're going to click on it. How are you going to apply the add? In this case, we want the brush. So we want to do this manually. And then you're going to come in here with your brush. You can manually apply that and kind of paint that in. So now that adjustment is getting applied to that area. If you want to remove an area, and let's say right here, it looks like it's darkening this area, it's spilled over a little bit. So we can go subtract, brush, and then we can come in here and we can paint into an area. And I'll come up here just so you can see what's happening. So I'm painting into the mask, not the adjustment. So when we show the overlay, you'll see now that this area is black. We didn't change the adjustment, just where the adjustment is. So if I paint black into an area, it's going to hide that adjustment from that location. Now I didn't do a good job here, so we've got this black area here, but we'll get into how to make those really refined edges in a little bit. So let's go ahead and reset this image. Once again, we're going to hit select sky. It's going to make a mask. We're going to apply a selective adjustment, usually more normal like that. We'll warm this up a little bit, no reason. And you can see we've just applied this to this area. That's a selective adjustment. Nothing has been applied down here. Let's click on this image. On this image, we're going to go up to select subject. And depending on how complicated it is, it might take a little bit longer. Now it's selected this whole thing plus this little leaf over here. So let me turn this off so you can see what's going on. So it's thinking that I want to apply an adjustment to all this stuff. So what we can do is I can brighten this up a little bit, and I'm going to do it too much so you can see that, yes, it's applying it to that area. But we'll just do it a little bit. Now, if I don't want it to apply to this little area up here, I can hit subtract, brush, take my brush, and you'll notice in the middle of the brush, there's a little minus, meaning that you're not applying it to that area. Then when we go to the overlay, notice that that area is not selected. And if I didn't want to do it to this part of the image, I could simply, and I can't see exactly what I'm doing, but we'll just guess. I can come in here and I can apply black to the mask, right? Not the image. You're just applying black to the mask. Hide the adjustment, which is brightening this image up a little bit. So it's just in this location. So now if we turn that back off, it's only brightening up the bird right there. And if I want to remove this fully, I can see what I'm doing in that mode. Cool. So now we've brightened the bird up. Now it's too much, so we're going to go ahead and decrease that. So we're making selective adjustments. One of these selective adjustments we made was using select sky. The other was select subject. Both of those are using artificial intelligence. All right, so let's click on another image. In this case, we've got a subject, and let's see if it can pick out just this subject and not pick out the plane that's behind her. So let's go ahead and hit select subject to see what happens. And it did a pretty good job, though it picked this area right up here. So we're going to hit subtract, brush. I'm going to paint this out because I don't want that to be applied. And that looks pretty good. Let's turn on off the overlay. And then we're going to brighten her up. So we're going to open up her the shadows and the brightness on this woman a little bit. And that looks a little bit better. We'll go ahead and remove a little bit of magenta in her face. All right. So that looks good. So we made that adjustment there. And if I want to see what I did, I could turn this eyeball off and on to see what I did. Next to the eyeball, we have these three little dots, and I can click on this. I can rename the mask, which means this mask here. So I'll just hit rename. I can call this face. Now you can see it's renamed that to face. I can invert it, which I'm going to do here in just a second. I can duplicate and invert the mask. I can intersect the mask with one of these. And these are your different options. Or I can delete the mask, or I can delete all masks. You have all those options. Now in this case, I want to adjust the everything but the subject. All right. So coming in and picking this area would be difficult, but we know we can select the subject. So if we want to select everything but the subject, it's really easy. We go back to the three dots, we click on it, we say duplicate and invert mask, which means it's going to make a new mask, but invert it. So now the subject is black, but everything else is white. So then I can come in here and we'll try to add a color. All right. So you can see the color. I can remove the saturation so you can see what's going on. So we can make that area black and white. So what this mask did is select everything but the subject because we duplicated it and we inverted the mask. So we did the opposite of what we had here. Let's go ahead and go back in time. And I'm going to do the manual version of this so you can see what's going on. When you make a selective adjustment and you want to make another selective adjustment, but with a different set of adjustments, you need to create a new mask. Right up here, we've got create new mask. We're going to click the plus. It's going to ask me what kind that I wanted. In this case, I want to select the subject again. So we've got select subject. I'm going to click that. It's going to basically make the same mask. But in this case, now I want to invert that. I want the opposite selection. But remember, we painted this out. So let's first hit subtract with the brush. Apply that so we get rid of that. Now we're going to make that opposite selection, right? So we're going to come up here and we're going to click on this and we're going to say invert mask this time. So we're going to hit invert mask and now it's selected the opposite. And if we come up here and we make an adjustment, in this case, we'll do that desaturation. You can see it's just happening in the background. So this mask is working on the face and this mask up here is working on the background. If I want to further adjust the face, all I have to do is select that one. Notice it's highlighted now. And anything that I do to it will adjust that area. If I want to go back to the other mask that has the background, I can come back and I can add that by selecting that mask. Turn it on and off to see what you did. And you can further adjust that. And you can make as many of these as you want. So what you need to understand in a selective adjustment is that you are applying an adjustment to a specific area. And the way that you're doing that is by adding either black or white. Now, this time, what I would say is stop this video, go into Lightroom, play with this, understand how it works, and then proceed to watch the rest of the video. I'd just like to take a moment to say the YouTube algorithm really likes it when you watch the whole video, you like the video, and you comment on the video. If you're finding the information in any of these videos helpful, if you could please give me a thumbs up, that would be wonderful. If you would like to subscribe and get future videos as they come up, because I'm going to be doing a whole series on Lightroom right here, that would be great as well. We've learned select subject and select sky, but we also have brush in any of these others. You'll notice next to brush, there's a letter K way out here. These are the quick keys. So if you want to do the quick keys for any of these, it's K. Linear gradient is M. Shift M is radial gradient. Shift J is color range. Shift Q is luminance range. All right. So those are going to be your quick keys. And if you're on a PC, just go ahead and look. It's going to probably vary just a little bit, but it might be a little bit different on some of the quickies. So let's go ahead and hide this window. If you just want to use the brush, instead of going up here and clicking this and then clicking the brush here to get this adjustment to come out, you can do this in one step. Remember, the quick key was K. So on my keyboard, I'm going to hit the letter K, and that's automatically going to bring up the brush. Now, if you look at the mask right now, it's totally black, meaning that anything I would do over here is not going to show up. Well, why? Because the mask is totally black at this moment. We need to take the brush and apply white to have an area that we make a selection. So I'll just go ahead and manually apply it to this woman here. Over here, we've got our brush size. So this is going to make our brush bigger or smaller. Now, let me turn off my cursor here so you can see what's going on. You'll notice, and I'll make this bigger just so it's easier to see. And I'll put it over the black. We have a series of circles, an interior circle and an exterior circle. The interior circle means you're going to get 100% of the adjustment, and then it's going to feather or fade it out to that secondary circle. So what's that mean? That's going to give you a soft edge. So I'm going to do an exposure, and I'm going to come in here and apply this. So you can see it did 100% of this adjustment that we see in the center, but then it fades it out. That's usually what you want to do, because otherwise you'll get a harsh line. Now, the way you change that, and I'm just going to hit Command Z to go back in time here, is to change this feather. Right now it's at about 50%. But if I make this feather 0, so now we have a brush without a feather. It's going to be a hard edge. So if I apply it, and this is in the mask, you'll notice it's got a really hard edge. And if I make the feather strong and I come over here, see how it has a soft edge? It gradates out. If you make an adjustment, you're going to see the difference. Here we've got this hard edge, and here we've got a soft edge. The soft edge is going to help it blend so you can't tell where the adjustment was made. If I make this hard edge and I try to apply it to her face, it's going to look stupid, even if I make the adjustment, because there's no transition between the old and the new. So if I drop this down, you're always going to see this hard edge line of where it isn't perfect. So let's go ahead and hit reset. So we're going to hit the brush. I'm going to give this about a feather of 50. I don't actually like 100. We're going to make this smaller, and I will just apply this. And I can't see what I'm doing with the overlay on, so we're going to go ahead and apply this here. And hopefully that looks good. You can go over it. You can see I missed this area here. Now, if you want to see the overlay, you can show the overlay as well. And then we're going to make the adjustment. Now it's just happening, and you don't really see an edge because I softened it. Now right here, I've gone over a little bit too much, so the feather is spilling onto this area. So we can hit subtract, brush. I'm going to make my brush smaller, and I can paint that out so we don't get that spill over there. Right? So that's how you refine your adjustment or your edge. If I want to add, I can hit brush, that I can make sure that the line is more accurate. So we can always refine what we're doing. Now let me show you a different way to do the exact same thing. So we're going to hit reset. So we're going to hit brush. In this case, I'm going to make an adjustment first. Make an adjustment first. When you go in to paint in the mask, you're never going to see the mask. You're just going to see the adjustment appear first. So in this case, I made the adjustment first, and then when I go apply it, I'm seeing it appear. If I hit the brush and I do not make an adjustment, when I go into the mask, we're just going to see the mask. In this case, I need to see the subject, so I want the overlay off. So I'm painting in the mask. We're not seeing the adjustment in this case because I haven't made the adjustment yet. Once I make the adjustment, that's when you're going to see it. So that's how you use the brush. So we can add and subtract, we can invert, we can do just everything that we had. We can create a new mask with a brush, and if we want to do something to another area, so if I wanted to come in here and apply something there, we'll turn that off. I can come in here and I can paint into the mask. I can make this area darker if I wanted for some reason. so we can make a secondary mask to apply to a different location. Let's say I don't like what I did here. I can delete mask 1. And in this case, I can also hit create. And if I wanted to do select sky, because it's going to make a better selection, I can still use a combination of both the brush and artificial intelligence. So I come in here and darken this up a little bit, and now I have that mask there. So that is how you make selective masks by using select sky, select subject, and select brush. I would suggest that you practice those first. And in the next video, I'll go into the radial, the gradients, and the luminance masks just to show you how those work as well. The process is exactly the same. It's just the intended use is going to be different. We do have a Facebook group, and there's a very specific reason I created this. If you want the information, it's in the description below. But a lot of comments I get, people are asking me questions and I cannot help them because I need to see what the issue is. Facebook allows you to either post an image or a video, and it makes it really easy for me to give you the answer to whatever your problem is.